Greetings and welcome to this next installment of Bible Topics that make you say, hmm. And I'm Robin Sweet Ransom, and I'm so glad you elected to join me today. Today, I'm pretty heated, I confess. And what I'm going to talk about today, I didn't intend to do this topic, but I was doing some studying and listening to a sermon, and I just wanted to give my 2 cents on this topic. Are white Christian nationalists Christian? What do you say? Look at this picture here. You see these animals in the midst of an insurrection trying to take over the Capitol, and many of them were white Christian nationalists. And then right here, you see some gallows. I've never seen such a thing except on TV. And of course, I only saw it on TV this time too, but those were in movies. This was happening on the news. When these fools were ready to hang their Republican VP, all in the name of Jesus? Take a closer look at this foolishness. I just thought for sure when this jackass tried to take over the government, and that's what I call him, I don't call him by the name his parents gave him, that they would be on board with impeaching him because those white folks were scared. Those legislators, all of them were, but even the white folks were scared of these people, these animals. But as soon as they were cleared out of the Capitol and they came back and they got over the fear, they still stood by that animal, the jackass. And you know who saved the day? A black man. And I rooted for him when he killed that white animal. Why am I saying animals so often? Because they have no problems calling people who look like me animals for doing nothing but wanting our rights, and they're trying to take away rights. They're trying to overthrow the democracy. And you know something else? I didn't have any pity for those white Capitol Police, regardless of color, getting attacked and beaten up. Because why didn't they defend themselves? They shoot unarmed black men all the time, even children, even women in their kitchen. But you can't shoot and kill people who are trying to harm you? Man, if you don't miss me with that, because if it had been Black Lives Matter people out there doing this mess, just being outside, not even throwing punches, they could have gotten shot. Are white Christian nationalists Christian? What do you think? Well, let's talk about what they believe. After the January 6th insurrection, many wanted to understand how signs declaring Jesus saves could be reconciled with gallows and chance of hanging the VP. I don't say his raggedy name either, because he's a only time he had a backbone was on that day. The answer, according to some sociologists and political analysts, was Christian nationalism. Ever since January 6, 2021, the term Christian nationalism has proliferated in discourse, but the precise definition is up for debate. Nevertheless, Gorski and Perry specifically identify white Christian nationalism as the threat. Christian nationalist beliefs alongside white racial identity creates the political vision that seeks hegemonic, which means the dominance of one group over another, power for white people. And you have some black Republicans who are hook, line, and sinker with, or hook, line, and step, or however you say it, with these folks too, because they believe that white proximity gives them some special blessing. And that jackass Supreme Court justice, the black one, can't stand him. Can't stand him. Crooked, 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 crooked. He's married to a white woman. And I do believe that they would have gone after marriage equality if it wasn't wrapped up under the loving precedence when the beautiful black woman and that wonderful white man, they got married and they made law that they could marry one another, right? But if they could find a way to separate gay marriage from that, they're gonna go after it. But believe you me, these white nationalists don't like the mixing of the races either. Although it's a lot of them, a lot of people who have done it, and so they may go ahead and let that go. But anyway, the question then becomes, is white Christian nationalism just another way of saying fascism, American style? There's a quote: if fascism ever comes to America, it's going to be draped in the flag and carrying the cross. And just in case you're not really sure what fascism means, I had to put the definition in here myself because I've heard it so many different ways. Fascism, in a nutshell, is a far-right, ultra-nationalist political ideology characterized by a dictatorial leader who forcibly suppresses opposition. And that Project 2025 that they're talking about, that's exactly what they're trying to do. And I've seen The Handmaid's Tales, and I've read the book. If you haven't done both, at least do one of them. And you'll see what they're trying to do to this America. They're trying to turn it into Gideon. That's what it was called. They're controlling everything. And make no mistake, the only reason why they're against abortion is because there's too many white babies not being born, too many white babies being killed. And if they could pay just the white women to have babies, they would. I'm sure they're trying to figure out how to do it. Germany did it way back when. Speaking of Germany, connected with white Christian nationalism is white supremacy and racism, which makes one think of Nazis and that jackass who ruled Germany way back then and started this mess. And I thought, why would you put in a book your plans to overthrow a government? Why would you telegraph what you're going to do? Well, the jackass over the Nazis, he put it in a book too. And he did it. And if you ever think that this democracy cannot become a dictatorship, think again. Look at what happened to Germany. Thank goodness they got their democracy back. But how many people had to die? So it makes you think of the Nazis and the Ku Klux Klan. White Christian nationalism in this country bubbles up during periods when white Christians feel threatened by outside forces, amplified by war, the advancement of Blacks. Let me tell you something. I teach DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it's a beautiful thing, but they have demonized it. Why? Because they do not like people coming together. They want to attack books that teach us Black history, classes that teach that. Why? Because Blacks are advancing and they don't like it. And they've done everything to keep us from moving forward. They've done everything to kill us. And we're still surviving and thriving. And when Obama became president, oh, that made them mad. So they found the trashiest animal to put in the White House. That's a DEI hire gone wrong. And now this Black woman is about to beat the pants off of him. Was not a fan of hers. But you know what? I'm going to be so happy when she drags the country with his butt. And then I hope all those prosecutions take force and they throw him in jail, prison, and then she takes away his Secret Service protection. Let him be in there with his KKK members. Oh, Jesus, I'm praying for it. White Christian nationalism, and I already said that. Ooh. It's amplified by war, the advancement of Blacks, heightened immigration or periods of economic instability. And the reason why they don't want to talk about the true history of this country is because they want you to repeat the history of this country. And they don't want their white kids to feel bad. Oh man, my goodness, look what we have gone through. And you talking about feeling bad? We were murdered, raped. Every horrible thing that can be done to a human being was done to Black people. And no, we're never going to do to you what you did to us. I remember joking with my wife friend and coworker. She said she was so happy that Obama won. I said, yeah, but he's going to make y'all slaves tomorrow. But she looked at me scared. Obviously, I was playing and it didn't happen. We're never going to do to them what they did to us because we're not evil like them. Christian nationalism in the United States is exclusionary, and not all white folks. Believe me, not all white folks. I'm talking about the evil ones. And there's evil in every race. But we're focusing on the white Christian nationalists because they have power. And that's how they're racist, because they can turn their prejudice into policies to take away from others, like they're systematically trying to take away voting rights to anyone who's not voting Republican. Christian nationalism in the United States is exclusionary and nostalgic, seeing the nation is going downhill, needing to be recaptured by people who see themselves as its rightful owners, possibly through authoritarian means. White Christian nationalists take advantage of problems to mobilize their supporters into channeling their fears, imaginary and otherwise, into resentments and hatred. They argue that everything going wrong with the country is part of the same problem, which can be blamed on non-Christians or those they deem to be inferior. Political actors who cultivate grievances to improve their grip on their target population, i.e., jackass, often take their lead from religious and extremist organizations or nations. Notice how he loves dictators. Thus, the acceptance of this movement is a political war over the future of democracy. I invite you, and I will put a link in the description, to check out a video I did and released on July 4th. Has America cursed itself? This is not a Christian nation, and it never was. So are white Christian nationalists Christian? Well, let's go to Christ and see what he had to say about Christians. John 6, 14 and 15, Jesus said, when the people saw the sign he had done, they said, this really is the prophet who was to come into the world. Therefore, when Jesus knew that they were about to come and take him by force to make him king, he withdrew again to the mountain by himself. He did not want to be king of the Jews on earth. He didn't want to be king over this wicked system. You know who has the power? It's Satan. And when people are talking about they're doing things in the name of God, I'm asking which God? So they did not try to take over the capital for Jesus, even though they used his name. John 18:36 says, my kingdom is not of this world. This is what Jesus said. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would fight so that I wouldn't be handed over to the Jews. As it is, my kingdom does not have its origin here. Listen to him. Jesus goes on to say, I give you a new commandment, love one another just as I have loved you. You must also love one another. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. Do these people preach love? No, they preach love of each other, but not love of everybody else. Right now, they're tolerating those people who have aligned themselves with them that aren't ivory white. They're tolerating them, and they're using them against their own people. They're using the blacks against the blacks, the Hispanics against the Hispanics, the Asians against the Asians, and so forth and so on. Little children, John goes on to say, let no one deceive you. The one who does what is right is righteous, just as he is righteous. This is how God's children and the devil's children are made evident. Whoever does not do what is right is not of God, especially the one who does not love his brother. And let's talk about taking up arms. They're so married to their weapons. Isaiah 2:4 says, he will settle disputes among the nations and provide arbitration for many peoples. They will turn their swords into plows and their spears into pruning knives. Nations will not take up the sword against other nations, and they will never again train for war. He's not approving of their militia and insisting that they have weapons of mass destruction. You don't need that to go hunt. You claim that you care about these babies being born, but you're allowing them to get killed in their schools. Come on now. Jesus goes on to say in Matthew, you have heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. For he causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. And I have to keep working on this, because as you can see, I don't have any good things to say about these white Christian nationalists. And so I am praying for the Lord to soften my heart And remember that we're fighting spiritual warfare and that my battle is not against anyone's skin color, anyone's ideology, anyone's political beliefs, but it's against the devil and his demons that's controlling them. Are white Christians nationalists? Are white Christian nationalists Christian? Well, let's talk about God's view. Are white Christian nationalist Christians? What does he think? All come from Adam and Eve. So no race is superior. Let's debunk that theory. No race is superior. No nation has Jesus as its ruler. Remember, Jesus rejected kingship on earth. The devil offered to give him all the kingdoms in the earth, and Jesus said no. His time is coming. So we should denounce the hateful, crystal, fascist hijacking of our Christian faith. What makes any human superior is Christ, not race. It's Christ, not nation. To love God, we must love our neighbor. 1 John 4:20 and 21 picks up where he left off earlier, and he says, anyone who says that they love God, whom they cannot see, but hate their brother, whom they can see, is a liar. And you know what? It's hard to fight divisiveness and embrace unity. Like I told you, I'm a work in progress, but I know that God can empower me to do so. He can empower you to do so and take a page from these beautiful babies of all colors together. That's how it's supposed to be. But Satan has us pitted up against each other, because if we're pitted up against each other, we're not focused on fighting him. DNA wise, we are 99% the same, but we kill each other over the 1% that makes us different. Why do I say that? If I need an organ transplant, I can get it from anybody in the world who won't even be related to me. Will probably be another race and even gender, because our organs work the same in different bodies. It's this outer that we get hung up over, and our beliefs that we get hung up over. Remember this, God made the human race in his image. I love this picture, these beautiful babies. What if they're twins? There's only one race, the human race, right? Learn from them. Humanity should be our race. Love should be our religion. Genesis 1:27 and 28a says, so God created man in his own image. He created him in the image of God. He created them, male and female. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. And we're supposed to rule over the earth, not other human beings. That's God's job, because we do a piss poor job of ruling over other human beings. All right, y'all, I'm gonna let this go. This video was longer because I was a little passionate. I still am a work in progress. I need prayer. But to answer the question, are white Christian nationalists Christian? Hell to the no. All right, join me next time on Bible Topics that make you say,